So we're going to spend a little bit of time this evening starting off at the front of the mat, just standing. I've got my brick out in front of me, or at least one brick out in front of me on end, ready for a little bit later in the class. Putting the brick block out to the side for the moment, and we're just going to practice our moon pose or mountain pose. So I'm going to have my feet a happy distance apart, so a little wider than my hip. I put the smallest of bends in my knees, like a millimeter, just to soften them off so you're not pressing your legs back. And it engages the leg muscles in a slightly different way. I'm already starting to slow my breath down. Now I want to try and press the ribs. When I stand, my pelvis sort of tilts forwards a little bit from the top. And so my tailbone sort of rushes out to the back. So to counteract that a little bit, I'm going to press my ribs in a little bit towards my back. And at the same time, press my tailbone down towards my feet. I'm also going to see if I can transfer the emphasis of weight from the outside of my legs, which is where it dominates mostly, to running a little bit more down the inside of the thigh. And relax your shoulders and turn the palms forward. So this is not my normal postural stance. This is how I should stand if I don't want to aggravate core back muscles. But it's not the shape that my body naturally forms. So every now and again, I have to come into my yoga practice and just practice standing still. And a subtle little shift, moving the hips back 0.5 millimeter, ribs down 1 millimeter, shoulders dropping out and back just a little bit. Rotation of the palms just slightly forward, the lift of the chin so that my head lifts towards the ceiling just that little bit more perfectly to alignment of a straight line. And although this should feel completely effortless, because it's not the natural standing posture in my body, it takes quite a lot of effort. If I had to stand here for 10 minutes, I'd be in trouble. Okay, we'll shake it out a little bit. Always good to practice standing still. Still allow the feet to be that hip distance apart, but I'm going to take my arms up above my head. Interlace the fingers, point the middle finger up, interlace the fingers and index finger to the sky. Don't be distracted by a sparrow sitting on his head that I can see out through the window. Not that that's important, but it doesn't take a lot to lose my focus some days. Then I'm going to just roll the ribs down, so wriggling out the shoulders. And then I'm going to take the side bend over to my left and press down through my right foot. So this time I will feel the muscles in my leg lift. I'm still coming down nice and slow. And then I get about as far as I can. And then I come back up slow. And then I ribs set those ribs again, and the shoulders. And I start to go at the opposite side, pressing down again through the left leg to lean out to the right. And come slowly back up. And release that. I'm going to bring the toes together so they touch, but just a tiny little gap between the ankle bones. As I bring my hands in towards my heart. I'm going to soften the knees over my toes, sit back a little bit, but I want to try and keep the spine long. So I'm actually drawing the tummy muscles in. It feels again like I'm playing around with the position of the pelvis a little bit. Hands are on the thighs, just lightly touching. So I'm not taking any weight, just that's the position really. So I know I've got the kind of angle and bend in my knees all sorted out. I'm going to take the right hand onto that left thigh, take the hand out in front, take a little breath in. And on the exhale, I'm going to swoop that arm out to the side, keeping the knees and the hips pointing forwards and the thighs squeezing. And take the arm down the center line behind me. Come back again. Inhaling in. Put the hands over. The hand comes out. And exhale that around. Watching the fingertips. Travel back. Inhale it forwards. Cross over the opposite way. Through to the center. And around. And back again. All the time, leading with the left arm. And then coming back to the center. Just crossing at the forearm, and the palms together, thumb towards me. Straighten the legs, drive down. Hands above the head, ears, and arms aligned. And then I'm going to look towards the hands, press the feet down. Take it into the smallest of back bends. And allow myself to ease the hands back down. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Hinge at the hips, soften the knees. And down slowly to the floor. And step back. Straight through down dog. Knees onto the ground. So taking a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Draw the chest forward and the tailbone high. Gently rolling out. Inhaling through. Into a neutral position for the spine, tucking the toes of the left foot underneath the press into the skin, right leg. Lifting in Superman pose. The hand comes away from the floor on the right side, stretches out, palm in. Try and stay aligned over the center line. And bring ourselves back down again. Press over to the second side. So we kick that right leg back. Press into the shin to lift. Legs about as high as you think your hip is. You want the leg to be straight. Now you can flex the foot or you can point the toes, your choice really. And I'm going to stretch that front arm forwards out straight, but you actually can relax your shoulder a little bit. As it doubles up, it does work. It stays in line with the body. The belly's drawn in. We're trying to lift away from the floor rather than collapsing into the shoulder and letting the belly drop. We want to go the opposite way. We're lifting a little bit, almost like you're trying to round your spine just a tiny little bit. Last breath in, bring the hands back down, and we'll move into down dog. We're tucking the toes under, we're also lifting. We're going to scissor the right leg to the sky. Bring that back down. So hinging the leg from the hip, trying to keep the leg straight. Go up the opposite way. Left leg left. Comes down. Across over the other side. And down. So being a bit more playful with the positioning of the hips, letting them roll out this evening. And the side. Right leg comes up. And then to the left. Last time. Look to the floor. We're going to come down into tabletop. Knees to the ground. And untuck the toes. into child's pose. Take a breath at the bottom, head on the floor. Breath into the shins to round your spine up. All fours and then cat cow as you forwards. Take a breath in, round the spine. Go back onto the heels. So just taking the child, cat cow flow, breath at the bottom. Breath into the shins again. Coming forward. Breath in at the front end. And exhale out to the back end. And back into neutral. Pose underneath or back into down dog. This time we're going to take down dog plank waves. So we'll bend the knees so the thighs are almost vertical. And then round the spine, we'll guide you push forwards into the plank in slow motion. When you're in your highest point of the plank, you push back, your down dog. You soften the knees, take a breath. Round your spine, draw the belly in and through. Nice strong legs. Back into your down dog. Soften the knees. As you come forward, nice breath out. Inhale on the way down. Knees soften. Rising forward on the breath. Inhale up. Bend your knees. Into plank. Knees come to the floor. We'll swivel the feet out to the side. Allow yourself to come down onto the bottom. Now take a little breath in there. You want to make sure your block is not too far away from you. Allow your hands behind, roll the spine down. And then once you arrive, wriggle out through the spine. You want to get your lower back as close to the ground as you can. You might need to flip your hips a couple of times. And then take the hands directly above the shoulders and the chest, palms facing in. We'll come up onto the tiptoes. We'll get the lower back into the floor. Squeeze the thighs together. Bring the knees up above the hips. And then extend the toes up towards the sky with straight legs. Alternating legs and arms. Take a breath in. And use your exhale to drop the right arm and the left leg. Try to avoid bumping into the brick that's out in the front of the mat. And we're back up on the inhale. Exhaling it out. Back. Crossing over. Back again. Working with your own breath, your own speed. Minimum stopping at the bottom. Kind of just switching direction. You might bump your heel or your hand into the floor, but you're not trying to rest and then draw everything back up. You want to keep the contention of energy in the muscles all the way through the body the whole time. That little bit of contraction. You feel everything having to contend with the weight of your body, gravity, drawing the body down. And you have to press the belly into the ground at the same time. You do that, A, because it makes the core nice and strong, but it takes a lot of back. Come up for the last time. Dropping the last leg down. And back up. Bend the knees in towards the body, or wrap the arms around the skin, a little bit of hug. And then feet to the floor. Once you have the knee as high up as you can, feet as close to me as possible. We'll take the arms out wide, take a little breath. And then roll the legs over to the right side. Keeping the shoulders flat to the ground. You turn the head the opposite way if that feels good. We'll try and let the bottom leg sink down. Passive hold here. Inhaling the legs back up. Realign if you need. Let the legs drop over to the second side. Lift the legs back up. And give ourselves a hug. We're just going to take the arms across the chest and see if you can feed your fingers underneath your back in towards the inner edge of your shoulder blade. I'm going to release the arms out, make a note of which arm's on top. You're going to cross them over the opposite way. Release the arms out. Once they've gone wide, reach your arms along the ground beside your body. Have your feet about hip distance apart and heels underneath your knees, turn the toes out. You're going to lift into bridge pose. You're going to curl the spine gently away from the ground and lift the hips. As we can, we'll take the hands high on the inhale. And exhale, we're going to let the arms drift towards the back of the mat. We'll take a breath and lift up on the tiptoes. Now, leaving the arms where they are, keep the hips as high as you can, bring your heels to the floor, and see if you can bring the ball of your feet and your toes off the ground. Now, don't have to get much space, but just a little bit. Pressing through the heels, hips to the spine. And we're going to bring the feet to the ground and come back up onto the tippy toes. Inhale your hands high and ease them to the floor, back where they started, sort of in line with where your hips were. Push them down through the back of the arms, lightly into the floor. Keep the hips working up towards the sky. Try and keep the effort even through both legs. Leaving the hips as high as they were. Heels to the ground, balls of the feet off again. Press the heels down into the floor. Get a little bit more hip to the start. And then we're going to let the feet come to the floor and roll the spine gently down to the ground. I'm going to take a breath and roll both legs over to my right side. Hands come underneath and press away from the floor gently. You just cross the ankles and take the block behind me. Lift up onto all fours, untangle the legs, and bring the heels onto that block and the squat. So hopefully by exploiting the toes and the heels being off the ground, you get a much stronger connection into the buttocks, into the glutes. There's a phenomenon called sleepy buttock, which is where not all, but some of the gluteal muscles, of which there are three, don't fire up all the time when they're supposed to. In fact, they can get lazy and the connection, the neural pathway starts to sort of deteriorate. So if you were in that pose and you felt that one buttock was working and the other one wasn't, then you want to try and activate that leg a little bit more and get both buttocks to feel like they've got that little bit of burn going on, but equally across each side. That doesn't mean that you've got particularly a big problem, but if you're an athlete and you're running lots of miles or a cyclist or things like that, that can become problematic. If you're sort of an average Joe, you probably walk around and never ever know you've got that issue in there. But it does help stabilize the hips. That's its purpose, getting those muscles to fire up, along with other things as well. So, you know, let's try if we can. Almost there. Just a few more seconds getting here. Literally just a few. We'll take the hands forward. And we're going to take the hips high, head low, and then just move the heels off the block. We'll take that out to the side and we're into a forward bend, albeit with a slightly wide stance. I'm going to let whichever knee you like to, bend one knee, and then cross it over to the other side slowly, pressing down through the feet. So you want to light off the bending to one knee, press down through the opposite leg till the leg straightens out. Same with the other side, going across. Your tailbone will switch a little bit from side to side, that's okay. Try to press down through the feet as evenly as you can without the toes clawing into the floor. Again, trying to get all the pathways, neural activity down your legs, activated, running 100%, optimize our body. Sounds very good, doesn't it? And we'll come back to the center. We'll bring the hands onto the hips from that forward bend, soften the knees a little bit and let ourselves lift up on an exhale. Walk into the front of the mat. Feet about hip distance apart. You can take the hands forward, lightly interlaced, up to the sky. Allow ourselves to look to the hands, press down through the feet as I exhale into the back bend. Inhale the hands into the heart and hinge down to the floor. And take my breath and slide my left foot back into a lunge. Drop the heel gently to the ground and scoot the arms alongside the body. Lift the chest a little to take that left arm out and then cartwheel away from the ground. And we'll bring the hands into the heart. Rotate chest and hips towards the front of the mat. Squeeze the elbows back, the palms just stretch out. And now press it out and lean over that front leg and then bring the hands down to the floor. We're stepping back into our down dog. Move forward into the high plank, which falls on the tippy toe. And we exhale down into the half plank. Now my nose touches the brick out the front. Inhale up. Don't need to go any lower than that. Exhale. Down. Up dog. Down dog. We'll take a little breath from there. Draw the left knee into the chest. Bring that foot through. Drop the back heel in. We'll swap over to the other side. We'll bring the hand, right arm out. Warrior two. Hands into the heart. Rotate. Press it out. Down to the floor. Stepping back. And through into the plank. Half plank. Nose touch the brick. Press back out. Down dog. Draw the left knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through and step into the front of the mat. Forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Soft knees and lift. We'll take the hands forward again. Inhale up. Little back bend as you exhale. Hands at the top. Arch, breath in. Exhaling down. Extending the right leg back into lunge. Dropping the heel in, hands alongside the body. We pull the right arm forwards and up. Hands into the heart. Rotate, lengthen out. Down to the floor, step it back. Down dog. Come forwards into the plank. Half plank. Pop your nose. Push it back. Down dog. Right knee in. Front of the mat. Drop the heel. Open up into your warrior two. Hands into the heart. Rotate and extend out. Hands to the floor. Step it back. Down dog. Forwards. Half plank. Push it back. Up dog. Sorry, down dog. Got that wrong. Right knee through. Front of the mat. Take a little breath. And allow ourselves to come back in front of the mat. A little breath. And then inhale high. Hands to the heart. Exhale down. We're stepping back into down dog. Taking a little breath. Now we're going to come into the plank, but we're going to draw the left knee to the left elbow. So come forwards. Heel into the butt. Back into down dog. We'll come to the center. Knee to nose. And back into down dog. And take the left knee to the right elbow. Back to the dog. We'll take the right knee, right elbow, and back into dog. Right knee to the center. Back into the dog. Right knee to the left. Back to the dog. Left knee to the left. The dog. To the center. Knee to nose. Dog. To the right. And dog. We'll take the right to the right. And dog. Knee to the center. Dog. And left. And dog. Take a little breath. We'll slowly walk the hands the back of the mat into a standing forward bend. And bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back to lift. I need to move about halfway down my mat. Only because I haven't got enough room behind. We'll take a little breath. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Feet are parallel, about hip distance apart. I'm going to load the weight to the left leg. Right hip lifts. Take a little breath. And slowly draw the right knee at height of my hip. I bring the heel in and then take the foot back, see if I can catch hold of the ankle. I'm going to bring the knee to the ground, or towards the ground, so thighs come together, and extend the left hand to the sky. And take a little breath. We're going to try and keep the pelvis where it is, but press that lifted shin bone towards the back of the mat. So it's like I'm going to come down into dancer's pose, the fuller version leaning forwards, but I'm actually going to try and keep my body lifting up and the pelvis, well, actually the pivot bones pressing forward. The foot down to the floor, and out of that one a little bit. Take it to the opposite side. Hands to the heart, load into that right leg. Just the heel, then the knee. Heel comes into your butt, hand comes down. Take the right arm up straight away for balance. Press the knee down to start with. Take a breath. Draw that pivot bone forward just a little bit. And then start to press the shin bone back. And then easing that foot back down to the floor. Take it all out. I'm going to come into the front of the mat. My brick hopefully is still out there after bopping my nose a few times. Set hands high on the inhale. Bring the hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Send the left foot to the back of the mat. Drop the heel in. Take a little breath. Bring the hands alongside the body to lift into my warrior two. Take another breath and extend out over the front thigh. Use the hand down to the floor. Up on to the sky. Press into that back leg. Press down through the front leg. Stay in position. Just open into the wrong side. And lift away from the floor. Take a little breath. Bring the hands into the heart. Squeeze the elbows back. Press it out to the front of the mat. Hands to the floor. Stepping the back foot in halfway. Allow yourself to take the brick to align with your right foot. To lift the rear foot away from the ground. You want your shoulder to be more or less over the top of the brick. You bring your left hand to your hip. Get the hand high. Chest open. Flex, raise leg. Pressing out through the heel. And we'll soften the front knee, come back into the lunge, bring the hands to the floor, spin the heel on the back foot, step it in, smooth, forward bend. We'll just move the brake over to the other side, hold it in, exhale nice and deep, bring the hands over the hip, and let ourselves lift up on the exhale. Then hands high again, breath in, hands through the heart, soften the knees as we exhale, weight into the toes. Take a breath. We're extending the right leg back. Dropping the heel in. We're coming into warrior two. A good chance to check that your front foot is following the line of the mat. Take a breath, and out over that front leg. Bring the hand to the floor, chest open, down through both feet. You want to feel the muscles activated, strong. We're out of the joints. It's more muscular lift. Feel the belly drawing in. When you fire up the legs more strongly, if you're just sitting in the joint, it tends to be very soft. It's a good way of telling whether you're working sufficiently. Take a last little breath. Ooh. We'll come back up. Warrior two. Hands into the heart. We'll rotate towards the front of the mat. Screw the elbows back. Breath it out. Hands to the floor. Set the back foot in halfway. Take your left hand out. Slowly lift your right leg. Bring your right hand to your hip. Open the chest. Use that hand to the sky. Strong legs pressing down and out. Press into that bottom hand. Now we'll soften the front knee. Ooh. Into our warrior two. Bring the hands up and down to the floor. In the heel, take a little breath. Ooh, almost step back. Down dog. And forwards again. Knees to the ground. And taking the block behind. Take a little breath. Hands come forward. We're dropping the heels in. Let's make a bigger effort this time to turn the toes out 45 degrees and let the knees open out as well. So we've got this sort of wider or widest stance. Widest, whichever you want to use. Put the hands out. Now, the arms are on the inside of the legs, so just pressing into the back of the arm. I'm going to walk my left hand out flat to the floor, so I get a little bit of a tidy bend. And then I'm going to open the chest to the right and just extend the right hand out. So bottom arm and leg pressing. Right knee, I'm now going to start to try and draw that behind me. Just squeezing that out. Just teasing that groin and hip. And I'll come back. And then I'll begin to walk into the second side. Rotate the chest. Send the hand out so it just follows the line of the chest. And then on the exhale, try and take the floating knee. Let's call it that. Towards the back of the mat. Bring the hand back. Ooh. Take a moment. So we're going to take the hands forwards. Lift the hips high again, like we did before. Let the forward bend come to us. We're going to move the block out to the side very gently. And wiggle the feet together on the center line. Take a little breath. You can gently take the hands onto the back of your calves. Palms placed onto the calf. The thumbs are on the outside edge of the shin bone. And take a little breath and see if you can press the hands in gently as you exhale to your calf. And it will draw your chest closer to your thighs. And press down through the feet. Try and keep the legs as straight as you can. Try to avoid tucking the head in, so the shoulders nice and wide. 2 more seconds. Keeping that little bit of pressure applied, seeing if the Muscles are cooperated. Just open that last little bit, and then we relax and bring the hands to the floor. We're going to walk the fingers forwards as if we're going to do down dog, and then drop to the knees. Ooh, and take the feet out to the side. Take a little breath. We'll spin forwards. Take hold of the brick. Allow ourselves to bring the thighs together. Just squeeze onto that. Lean back just a little bit, hands out in front. And then we're going to take the shins so that they're parallel to the ground, stick the toes out in front of us. Squeezing the thighs together. And then relax. Woo. Feet come to the ground, move the block out. Going to cross the ankles over gently, bring the heels back underneath, bring the hands towards the front of the mat, just set myself back onto all fours. Taking a little breath, bending the left foot back. I'm going to take the right foot back, making sure the feet are about hip distance apart, and rolling gently over to the left into my side plank. So the right arm is lifted. I'm going to turn the palm forwards and extend that out towards the front of the mat. Big stretch, and then lift the hips as high as I can. It's almost like I'm trying to lift my hips higher than my head. We'll come back, regular plank. Take a breath. Roll the feet over the other side. Allow that left hand. So I'm on the side edge of my right foot. My left foot is flat to the floor. Extend the arm out over the front of the mat. Take a breath. And then press the legs down, lift the hips as high as I can. We'll come back into regular plank. Ooh, knees to the floor. Get back into child's pose. And come underneath the forehead. And ease the hands out to the front of the mat again, go the distance apart. Exhale, round the spine up, full forward. Take the left leg back, the right leg back into plank. I'm going to take my right foot halfway down the side of the mat, roll onto the side edge of the left foot. So coming into side plank again, I just happen to have the right leg forwards. So hopefully it's underneath the knee, and then press the hips up towards the sky. And then bring myself back down into plank. Get stick, I'm going to take the other foot forwards, side edge of the foot, lift the hand, press the hips high. We begin pressing into that front foot a little bit as well, just as much as I use the back foot. Bring the hands back, plank, knees to the floor. I'll pose again. Hands under the forehead. Narrow stance. Now pose. Long breath in. Put the hands forwards. Take the breath in. Exhale, drive through the knees, around and back, into all fours. And take yourself into the plank. Take a little breath. Roll onto the left side, the right hand lift. I'm going to see if I can slowly back one foot on top of the other, and then slowly lift the right leg as high as I can. And bring the foot gently back down, staying into the plank. Cross over to the other side. See if I can stack the feet. And then lift the leg and the hips as high as I can. Bring it back down. Knees to the ground. And back into child's pose. Hands up to the front of the mat. Exhale to a rounded spine. Into down dog. Lift the right leg high. Bring the knee through into lunge. And take high crescent. So just check your knees over your ankles. Bring the hands alongside your body. Then extend the arms out slowly. Draw the belly in. Press the tailbone down. Allow yourself to lift. Press into the back heel a little bit as you drop the back knee just to front. Spread the hips to the front of the mat. Bring the hands back down. Put them back into our dog. Swivel that left leg. Knee through the center. Lunge. Find your balance. Hands alongside the body. Lengthen the arms out in line with the torso. Palms face in. Draw the tailbone down. A little softness in the back knee. Press out through the heel. The legs feel hard from the back. Like it's doing as much work as the front leg. And we'll bring the hands down to the floor again. Step back into down dog. We'll come into our final plank and just lower ourselves to the ground. I'm going to take the hands forward as I build myself into Sphinx pose. Belly button's off the ground. Thighs press down, heels roll out. Shoulders broaden. Chest lifts up and forwards. And I'm going to come back down to the ground. You're going to make sure your chin is going to be on the mat. So you can bring your hands underneath your chin and allow your feet to be about hip distance apart. Elbows out wide, just have a little relax for a moment. And gently going to bend the left knee Bring the heel into the butt, take the left hand back, find your toes, and squeeze your heel to your butt. Press your thigh down, your hips into the floor, lengthening the knee away. And that top shoulder back a little bit. So you're squeezing the shoulder blade towards the spine, elbows high. Half breath in, and then release that foot gently to the floor. What the hands over is you bend the opposite leg. Hand on the bootleg side of the boot. Heel into the sitting bone. Eye press down, shoulder drawn back. And then release. Move out the hips a little bit. Move both knees, coming into bow pose. Taking the hands back to the ankles this time. Knees are still about hip distance apart. Thighs are more or less parallel. Press the thighs down into the floor as you flex the ankles. On the exhale, press your shins away and let your chest lift. Thighs stay on the ground for 5 breaths. And then we'll press the soles of the feet to the sky and the shins away for 5 breaths. Thank you. The thighs parallel. And then release back down. Oh. Now you're going to roll to whichever side you'd like and draw the knees towards your belly. And then use your hands underneath the twist, away from the floor. Spin round gently. You're going to take the flat block behind. Sit on that. Take the feet out a comfortable distance off the mat. And the feet are close enough to the soles of the feet to the floor. At this moment, my pelvis is kind of tilting and rolling back a little bit, and my spine is rounded. And I'm going to take my arms and just place them on top of my arms and my knees. Hands are onto the bootleg side. I'm gradually going to let myself lean forward. And I'll spend about a minute here, just breathing in gently, letting the whole body hang and relax. So just a variation on our deep seated forward bend. This is much more appropriate for the end of the class. Just slowing the breath, letting everything relax out. And that one round gently. And we're in the perfect position to just lean forward and let ourselves come down to the ground for Shavasana. Now I'm going to use the lock around the back of the head again, just because it makes it easier for me to look up and see the top. If this was my own practice this evening, I would have my head flat to the floor. I find that more comfortable. You choose what works for you. As I say, you do you. Now I'm going to take the feet out to the corner edges of the mat and let the toes hang out. Arms face the sky, out the side of my body. If you feel like your back, lower back, and your um, gluteal muscles have done a lot of work and they're a little bit tired, a little bit tight, then you would keep the knees high and let them knock in towards each other like a little teepee. The feet would be wider than your body, and that just brings your pelvis into a more neutral position. You might be able to feel even in this position here that your sort of chest is a little lifted, there's a bit of a gap underneath the spine to the floor. Pelvis is just a little bit sort of tilted forward. And that's what having the knees up will negate. Wriggle the fingers and toes as you begin to breathe a little deeper into your body. Begin to let the ankles and wrists rotate. Really bring yourself back into the room, your awareness. A longer breath in and use that to stretch out in any way that feels good to you. Follow your instinct. And then we're going to slightly go along the ground one leg at a time towards us. Let the knees come in. Taking the hands lightly around the shins. Rock very gently side to side. Use that momentum with an exhale to roll to the right side. Let the feet and the legs come down. Then the chest into the side. Bring your hands underneath and press away lightly. So nice and smooth to lift up. Easy sitting posture. Hands to the heart. Take the breath in as you close your eyes. And begin to exhale, letting the chin drop. Letting the belly draw to the spine. Bowing to the floor, seeing our practice for the evening. As the breath comes back into the body, allowing the spine to lift. The head follows, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Hope you enjoyed. And see you on AMAT soon. See you for now.